A basic if statement can be just as powerful as any other lookup function. The reason is you're using logic to determine the answers and the actions taken by Excel. The basic if statement is really easy to do. It has 3 sections. It has a logical statement that tells Excel how to determine what is true and what is false. Then it has a true action. So if the logical statement is true, then this is the action that Excel is going to take. If the logical statement is false, then there is a false action, which is the third part of the basic if statement. Right here we have some item information, sales, and units, and then we have a highlighted section that says dollars and units, and we're going to use this basic if statement to determine if it's outperforming or underperforming in terms of dollars and units. We'll get started. So we're going to move right here to cell L5, and we're going to put equals if. As you see, it shows logical test. So we want to see, since we're doing dollars, is this year performing better than last year? If it is, we want to put quotes in the word outperforming. If it is not, we want to tell Excel what to do if the statement is false. So we're going to do quotes underperforming. End quote. Put it in parentheses and press enter. And then all you got to do is drag that down. And we'll put our little line back. And now you can see which ones are actually outperforming and which products are underperforming. And we can do the same thing with units. We'll do equals. If activates the statement. Parentheses takes you right into the logical statement. And we're going to do the same thing. Is this year units greater than last year's units? Put a comma, quotes, and we're going to put outperforming again. Quotes, and we're going to tell it what to do if it is a false outcome. And we're going to do underperforming. Quotes, close it out. We'll put our little line back in, fix our formatting, widen it out, and there you go. That's a basic if statement that, due to the logic that we asked Excel to do to determine whether dollars this year is greater than dollars last year, and if it was, the formula we put in would say to put outperforming in that box. If it wasn't greater than last year, then we would want them to put underperforming in that box. So now, real quick and easy, you can tell which products from a dollar perspective are outperforming and which ones are underperforming. And also with the same thing with units. You can see what is outperforming and what is underperforming. And you only had to do one simple if statement. Countif counts the number of, in this case, products that meet a certain criteria. The criteria that we use, that's used above in the table, is outperforming and underperforming. So in a Countif, all we have to do is provide the range and the criteria, and Excel will count the number of products that meet that specific criteria. So in this first question, it says the count of how many items are outperforming in terms of units. So our criteria here is outperforming. So in order to count how many products are outperforming without actually having to do it manually, we put it equals and the word Countif to activate our function. Then we go up here to the range, which is M5 to M15, and we're going to press F4, just a good best practice to lock down the cell range. And then we're going to put a comma, quotes, because when something is a word, you must have it in quotes in order for Excel to recognize. In this case, our criteria is outperforming, so we have to put the word outperforming in quotes. Close parentheses, enter, and it says we have 7 different products that are outperforming. Now our next one is the count of how many items are underperforming in terms of units. So again, we go equals Countif, parentheses, go back up here again, it's our range, F4, best practice, lock down the range, comma, quotes, and we want to put underperforming, quotes, parentheses, enter. So we have a total of 4 underperforming items. So if I was to add the outperforming and underperforming together, we should have 11 different products. So if we scroll up top here and just highlight these, down in the bottom right corner, you'll see the count, and it says 11. So our 7 and 4 tie out. So now we need to answer the last question, and we're going to use what's called a nested if statement. And we're going to go equals if, parentheses, and we're going to click on I-16, and we're going to set the greater than sign, and J-16, then we're going to say, tell if it's a true statement, we're going to go out performing. Now up to this point, it looks just like a basic if statement. However, this is where it changes, because we're going to put another if inside of it, and we're going to do I-16 again, but this time we're going to do less than J-16, and we're going to put our comma, and we're going to put under performing, and we're going to finish this off just like a regular if statement, and we're going to put a quotes, and we're going to put same, because if it's not, if our this year performance is not better than last year performance, or if our last year performance is greater than this year performance, we already know that's either outperforming or underperforming. But if it turns out to be equal, then we want to put same, because it's saying that our performance year over year really hasn't changed. And because we did a nested if statement, we need to close it out with 2 parentheses. We'll press enter, and our outcome is going to be outperforming. And the reason why it shows outperforming is because our units total 708 is larger than 595. And we told Excel that if it is larger, then we should put outperforming. So since it's larger, we put outperforming. Another if statement is a SUMIF. And a SUMIF is like a COUNTIF, except it adds one more criteria, which allows you to sum. So in our example above, inside of our table of products, we're going to actually sum the dollars as our outcome instead of just counting. So to do that, we have to do equals, and now we're going to put sum if parentheses. Here's our range again, and that's our first element of the function. So we're going to go up here to our dollars, and we're going to highlight our range, L5 to L15, and we're going to push F4 to lock down that reference. And then our criteria, according to this question, it wants to know about outperforming. So quotes, outperforming. And then what you'll see here after we put the print or the comma, it's going to go to sum range. Well, we want to sum all of the outperforming products. So we've got to go over here, highlight the products total. We're going to push F4 to lock down that reference. Put ourselves parentheses in there. Press enter. And what Excel just did is it went up here to our range that tells us whether we're outperforming or underperforming. It looked for everything that said outperforming and then summed it over here. So it says 7,800. So if I went over here, the first one says outperforming. The third one says outperforming. The fourth one says outperforming. Down here in G says outperforming. And then our bottom three say outperforming. So when I click on this very last one, it should total $7,800. So again, if we go down here in the corner, our sum is 7,800. So we know we did our sum if correctly. Now we're going to do the same thing for the second question, or what are the total sales of all underperforming items? And we're going to count the total up and sum the underperforming products. So sum if, our range, F4, criteria, underperforming, comma, we'll go back over here, put that range in, lock it down, and put our parentheses. Enter. And it says $2,700. Now, instead of having to go and click on every single dollar value that says underperforming like we did with the outperforming, we can literally just highlight these two, because if they equal out to the dollar value up here that totals under this year's sales, then we know that we did it correctly. So these two are highlighted, and if we go down here, again, shows 10,500 as our sum, and our total over here said 10,500. So we know that it summed it correctly. So now we're going to do a nested if statement to answer our last question. Is the portfolio positive or negative? So we're going to put equals if parentheses. We'll click on this year's total sales. put a greater than last year's sales, comma, put quotes, the word positive, because it wants to know if it's positive or negative. Then we're going to do an if, parentheses, same thing, but this time less than last year. And we're going to put negative. And if by chance the numbers are the same, we're going to put same because it would be no change. And we'll close out our parentheses. Press enter. And it says we are positive versus last year.